All right, hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. This is Rob for Smirking Gun Reviews. We are back with The Man in the High Castle, and it's season 2. We have reached the finale. It's episode 10. The new season starts October 5th, I believe. So we've got about a month and some change here to go, but I couldn't wait any longer to get to this episode. It's called Fallout, so full spoilers ahead if you have not seen the episode. It's a great one. A lot of twists, a lot of turns going on, and I have to use my tablet just to make sure I keep things straight. So just to let everybody know, I will be covering the whole season episode by episode that comes out in October. So hopefully some people get the hankering to start binge watching the entire series before the third season comes out, and maybe we can get some more views on these. But I still really love doing them. I'm going to try to keep getting better at doing this. So here we go. So this episode starts out with something I don't think they've had in any episode, which is a cold open. Now, since this show was developed by Frank Spotnitz and he was a part of the X-Files, cold opens are their, his old hat. But this cold open is pretty good. December 11th, 1945. And we've been shown the medals that Obergruppenführer Smith had from the American Army, but we've never seen anything else. We've been given nothing. But in this scene, we get to see him and his wife going into a house, a little small place. So 1945, I don't know, we don't really know what had, transpired yet. But they're getting ready to start a family. He is talking about going to the Pentagon, so he's, clearly not a Nazi. And then, boom, literally, the bomb goes off in Washington, and Smith says the Nazis just hit D.C. And that's the beginning. Now, how important this scene will be, will probably depend on how much more of a backstory we ever get with Smith. Part of me wants a backstory. Part of me kind of just wants that to be vague. Wants us to just kind of have the mystery of what could have transpired to make him, switch sides. I mean, on the one side, it's pretty easy to just go, well, he wanted to protect his family because he's done everything for his family. Now, I don't know how many people would become Nazis, but we've never had in this country to face that kind of choice. Let's hope we never have to, but you never know what people are willing to do when there's a literal gun to your head kind of situation, or to your family's head. So then we get to the aftermath of the explosion, where it still appears Frank is gone, right? I mean, he's got to be. And it sucks because, his whole thing, the resistance wanted to kill the general, but he wanted Keto, and Keto is very much alive. So it's a pretty tragic thing, but also kind of that's life. That's realistic, You do the thing you want to do. Frank tried his best. He took out some people, but you don't always get the results you want, no matter how good or honest or whatever you are. Sometimes shit just doesn't go your way and you still get blown the fuck up for your troubles. But Keto does see Tagomi. And so finally Tagomi is able to show him the film of the hydrogen bomb going off in one of the Man in the High Castle's films. Now they know this didn't happen here. Keto, again, is no fool. He knows this is not, it's clearly in their territory, but it could never have happened. He'd know about it. So this scene is pretty good at setting up what happens later. So, and just again, to keep myself on track here, because, okay, so this is where we get Joe's dad. He's just setting up the end of the world. I mean, it's like Dr. Strangelove, except You know, if it was all Nazis in the room and not just the guy in the chair trying to keep his arm from going, oh, Peter Sellers' arm, just trying to keep it. That's what I got from that scene, was it just reminded me of Doctor Strangelove, but like, not funny at all. So, yeah, I mean, first wave, everybody, I mean, by the third wave, is there anything left? I mean, they're talking about, you know, going in and invading, but I mean, you know, it's pretty much a done deal. I mean, and I love, you know, they say that this is the final war. I love it when people say things, you know, when the big bad guys say, this is it. This is the last war we all have to fight, you know, and it's like, I don't know. I don't know why it just reminds me of the lines in the prequels of Star Wars. And I hate saying that, but was it that Obi-Wan says to Anakin, only Siths deal in absolutes? And that's what I love about these bad guys in these kind of situations. They always remind me of that line, because they always are in absolutes. You know, this is the last war. There will be no war. This is, you know, like, that's why, you know, there'll always be another war, because as long as they think if they just kill enough people, you know, that'll be it. That's the solution. We just have to kill enough people. They try to rationalize and rationalize and rationalize. But in the end, you're just murdering everybody that doesn't agree with you. You know. And then that's supposed to fix everything. That's the way you fix the world. And I mean, they think, you know, because they've made progress and what they can do is humanity. But you know, if everything is working their way and all the things that they could accomplish, the one thing that they don't accomplish is being human. You can't, you may be able to make a faster rocket to the moon, but you lost your humanity along the way. And when you say, you know, how far can humanity go? Humanity ends when you end it. When you end humanity, you're no longer human, in my opinion. So, and of course, Joe just kind of standing there dumbfounded. I mean, really, what can he do at this point? But I mean, they talk about what do they do about the uprisings in America, and they're just like, well, let's just take out Savannah, Georgia. And even Smith is like, yeah, we're not doing that. I mean, you can just see, like, right off the bat, that this is not going to work. I mean, they have these great ideas. I mean, they're so decisive. They're so really quick about how they want to take everything out. But also about taking out Tokyo right away. You know, even, like, we're talking about terrible people here, and they're saying, well, we can't take the emperor out because then they'll want to fight harder. But Heisman's just like, oh, fuck it, I don't care. Let's just kill everybody. And even, you know, these terrible people, you're not rooting for them. You're like hoping for the lesser of two evils at this point for their world. You know, thankfully, when you watch this show, you realize this isn't our world, but you still have, like, as a human being, you want to try to save. You want to see something get saved here. And it's almost as if, like, you're just trying to find the group of people that are willing to make the least amount of casualties and collateral damage to, like, keep the world spinning. And as of right now, you know, you've got Kido, Tagomi, even Smith at some point, you know, in some way is trying to keep everything still, you know, moving forward to where we don't have millions and millions and millions of people getting killed. I'm reading this. Joe, the most ridiculous and boring character yet again this season. Yeah, he has his moral crisis, and then he fucks that girl, Nikki. You don't believe in causes, you believe in people. Well, I believe in you. And then they have their love scene, and it's, you know, just lame and back-arching crap. I mean, what's that scene for? I mean, hey, look, I like a good sex scene as much as the next guy, but what was that for? Just so that later on when Joe meets Juliana, he'll be like, oh no, I slept with somebody else. You know, I don't know. But it seemed like it was really not necessary. Yeah, so urgent, in fact, that there's time for an overdramatic sex scene followed by Joe doing nothing. This is from Entertainment Weekly, so I don't want to plagiarize, but I mean, I'm just kind of going off of this. I did just watch it, but I'm trying to keep my head straight here. There's so much going on. Yes. So Keto he goes to New York, and the Nazis quickly pick him up. They call Smith, who, speaking of Smith, Thomas finally confronts his family about his illness, and again, in this crazy, leave it to Beaver Nazi, father knows best situation, it's hard not to sympathize, that they're trying to keep their child alive. But I mean, he's had no problem killing all sorts of other people. And he's supposed to be, he was an American, for God's sake. And not that that's like America, not doing any of that, but it's just, if you can try to think of it in just terms of people trying to protect their children, you can kind of squint your eyes and say, well, I know they're Nazis, but they still love their kids. Yeah. But after this, Smith gets the phone call about Keto. And so Keto gets, released and goes to Smith's house, where he shows Smith the film. And this is where the plan really starts coming together. Now, we don't quite know what's going to happen, but it first starts with Smith having to go to Berlin. Now, Keto is like, he asks Keto where he wants to go. He's like, I want to go to the Japanese embassy. He's like, well, I don't know if, if this doesn't work, I can't guarantee you, that's the best place to be. But Keto is, Mr. Honor, Japan, duty, all that stuff. Would rather, if it's going to die, he wants to die in Japanese soil. I love how people consider embassies soil. It's just like they say in Walking Dead, four walls and a roof. Japan is home. I guess home is where your heart is. I don't know. But the embassy thing, I just never quite understood that. I guess if you're surrounded by your compatriots, maybe that's something. But so Smith has to go home, and man, I love it. His wife's just getting lit. Like when the shit must really hit the fan, because she's hitting the sauce pretty hard. And this is where he tells her, I got to go to Berlin. And she's just like, fuck you, dude. You're not going nowhere, man. Like, what are you talking about? And, you can tell she's a little tipsy, because she's like, get me and the kids out of here to some place, where nobody cares about deformities and disease and stuff like that. And it's like, well, yeah, that'd be great. But pretty soon, if Heisman wins, there's nowhere to go. Literally. There's nowhere you can go that's safe from people that wouldn't want to kill your son. So he finally, he's like, you got to trust me, which, she's like, trust ain't going to do shit here. But he has no other choice in his mind. So he goes to Berlin. Now, we also have Juliana now is, hiding out with the resistance. George is trying to get Juliana out of Dodge, but not to the neutral zone. It's to a safe house. And pretty much, again, since we know this and nobody else does, there is no safe place to go right now. It doesn't matter if she stays in New York. It doesn't matter if she goes to fucking Timbuktu. But George leaves to go arrange for things. And of course, we get to see how shitty the resistance really is, and how just spiteful they are. No matter how good you do, if you've done one thing wrong that causes something else to happen, you're screwed too. And they've been wanting to take her out for like freaking ever, and now they finally get the chance. And I gotta give it up to them. It was pretty cold-blooded. They're like, here, have a drink. Here, this envelope in the picture of Karen that died. And it's like, you know what? These people don't. It's like working for a company with bad communication. I think a lot of us can understand that when not everybody's telling each other the true story of things, when people are just getting word of mouth about things. I think if we were all on the same page, people wouldn't be just trying to kill you over Karen's death. And oh, come the fuck on. After all this, we get that problem. There we go. So I find it silly that, yeah, okay, she let Joe go. But they keep using her, and then they're just like, oh, we'll just kill her later. And they're like, what kind of resistance is that? It seems like everybody's just kind of a different degree of shitty. It doesn't matter really what side you're on. But she ends up becoming the architect of fate. And I've said this before, like whatever she tries to do, she's pretty much just reinforcing that things happen the way they happen in the films. That what if, her struggling is just making things happen. It's time is going to happen. And, whatever's going to happen is going to happen. And fighting against it really doesn't do that well. I mean, I've seen... You watch enough time travel shows, that you can't really, what's happened, you can't go back, can't change it. And everything you do to fight it, something finds a way to make it happen. And so when she shoots, I mean, that was a pretty cool scene, they used a piano wire on her and she ends up, getting out of there. But then she kills George, shoots him in the back because he can't let the fact that Smith has a sick kid and they want to use that against him. And she, being so good, such a good person, that she can't allow the kid to be used, which morally she's absolutely right. But that doesn't mean that we don't kind of want her to just be like, shut the fuck up. Come on, these are Nazis. They don't care. We shouldn't care. So part of me is like with George, that they won't. We have to be able to do what they would do. So part of me is with him. And then the moral part of you says, no, we can't use the kid and blah blah blah. But that's that's like the Game of Thrones rules, man. You win or you die. And so she shoots George to protect Thomas, but we see how that plays out later on. So she runs away with. And let's get to... So Smith gets to Berlin, finds Joe, tells him, look, I got to talk to your dad. We got to show him this film. And of course, we just get some scenes of Joe like, you planned all this. And I just, and Smith's just kind of like, yeah, I did all that because you're a dummy. I wish he would have just said that, but he's nice about it. He says like, oh, well, I've kind of considered you a son and all that. And, at least Joe's smart enough to go, oh, that's not true. You'd say anything. And he would, because Joe is dumb. Joe is an idiot. And like I've said before, our heroes in this show are the least interesting. At least Frank died with some sort of dignity. He blew up a bunch of people. At least he got something done. He may not have gotten the guy he wanted, but he took out a whole bunch of bad guys. Joe, he's just dumb as a box of rocks, man. But he does get Smith in to see his dad, pulling rank. Ooh, that's his big superpower. And so, but of course, when you have a villain like his dad, he's just like, I don't fucking care. Like, again, he's just like, you could show him a picture of a film of himself, standing in front of an atomic bomb blast, and he'd go, ugh, that's not gonna happen. I'm standing there, so of course he's gonna be not swayed. Of course he's gonna immediately go to where he can blow everything up, because now people are starting to think maybe we shouldn't do this. And because he just wants power, he's got to make a beeline for the quickest way to it. Fortunately, Smith is able to talk to another terrible person to tell him about the conspiracy that he's uncovered. And this is Smith playing his hand. And it could go wrong, but it doesn't. And even though it's a little bit goes off without a hitch, it's kind of nice to see something go without a hitch in one of these shows where he had a plan, he executed it, it worked. And they go and arrest Heisman right before he can, of course, the last minute, flick of the switch kind of, I'm going to press the button, but they arrest him, which I am kind of surprised they didn't have one of those where he's about to press the, the button and then they shoot him or something. But they don't do that either. They take him away. And Joe, as he calls Smith, the son of a bitch, on the way out of the room, you son of a bitch. And it's like, I was wondering if Smith was going to be like, oh, not him. Like he's cool. But no, he lets Joe go too, because why not, right? And then we get to this scene where this little boy, now this was an impressive shot because it's not real, but it looks pretty goddamn crazy. And this is where he tells him that Smith is a hero and all this other stuff. And then Smith ends up getting into that room with all the films. Speaking of the films then, we have so that's pretty much it for Smith's part of it, except back home, Thomas and the family see what Smith has done, and out of some sort of weird-ass loyalty to maybe protect his dad because his dad stepped up and saved the world, Thomas decides to call the hospital and have himself taken away to be put down because he's sick. Kid, you're a dum-dum. What a stupid thing to do. I don't care. I don't care what kind of misplaced loyalty you have or whatever you want to show your dad respect. That is, he just did all this to save your life. But I guess that's supposed to be the irony of it, right? That all this work that Smith did to protect his family is now, doesn't matter because he's in Berlin and he doesn't know that his kin is being a dum-dum back home. So, now we have, all right, so Smith has seen the films. Juliana finds Ebenson, or he finds her, and explains to her that all this happened because of her. That every version of her he's seen in the films, she's always the good thing. And he bet on her so that George had to die so that Joseph Smith could live so that he could save the world. For now. So, Japan's not getting blown up. The Pacific states aren't getting blown up. Savannah, Georgia, all these places are now safe for now because of Juliana's decision to kill George. And this is something that Ebenson had been betting on, but we just didn't know that. But Juliana's freaking out because everybody's dead. Everybody that she cares about, and Dum Joe is over banging, little Miss, I don't know, what do you want to call her? What's her name? Nikki? I don't know. So he's over there enjoying, he's not enjoying life so much now, locked up with his dad, but, everybody's gone. But then he shows her that not everything is gone and takes her to go see a girl standing outside. It turns out to be Trudy, her sister. Now, I don't think it's Trudy from our reality, or this reality. It could be Trudy from our reality that was pulled in. Either way, Juliana's got a sister again. And then we have the final scene with Tagomi getting a knock at the door, and it's Lem Washington saying that he's a friend of Juliana Crane's, and he's got a whole bunch of films for Tagomi. And that's how the season ends. And I gotta say, even though Smith's plan went off without a hitch, it was just nice to see, like I said, it almost feels like a conclusion, but I'm glad that the show's coming back for a third season in October. I can't wait to see where they're going to go with it. I hope there's a lot more alternate reality, alternate realities being traversed and different outcomes of things, being brought in and I really want to see where Smith's character goes from here. I want to see where Keto's character goes from here. And that's crazy when all you care about, for the most part, is where the villains are going. And I feel like this is a villain show. And the villains are just more interesting. And they continue to be more interesting. And I'm looking forward to them to being more interesting than heroes. And if they can somehow pull it off so that Juliana and Joe can be better characters, more power to them. But anyway, I'd still rather see Keto and Uber Führer Smith have a conversation than Joe and Juliana any day. Anyway, that's it for this season. Like I said, October 5th, we will be back for the third season. And yeah, that's it. So if you like this video, please hit the like button, comment, share, subscribe, all that jazz. You can watch a whole bunch of my other content on here. Hit the bell for notifications on any of our videos. And we will see you on season 3. Have a great night. Bye.